Hello and welcome to Alligator Bioscience first quarter 2023 call. My name is Søren Breinholt. I'm the CEO of Alligator Bioscience, and with me I have our CFO, Marie Svensson. But before we dig into all the new data and the numbers, a disclaimer.
Before our webcast, a quick reminder for our listeners. During today's call, management may make forward-looking statements, which by their nature involve known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other important factors beyond the company's control that could cause the company's actual results, performance, or achievements to be materially different from that expected result, performance, or achievements expressed or implied by such forward-looking statements. These statements are subject to risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from those contained in the forward-looking statements. Actual results and the timing of certain events may differ materially from the results or timings predicted or implied by such forward-looking statements. Reported results should not be considered as an indication of future performance. Please note that these forward-looking statements made during this call speak only as of today's date, and the company undertakes no obligation to update them to reflect subsequent events or circumstances, other to the extent required by law. This call is being webcast and will also be made available through the company's website. With the formalities out of the way, over to management.
Thank you. Now let's go to slide 3 for an overview over the milestones that we have already achieved this year. So the start to 2023 has been very busy here at the Alligator Bioscience, and I'm happy to share that we've already made a number of significant milestones this quarter. Let's start with OPTIMIZE-1, our phase 2 trial where we are evaluating our lead asset, Mitazalimab, in combination with FOLFIRINOX in first-line metastatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer, that is. In January, we reported outstanding phase 2 interim efficacy data demonstrating a 52% objective response rate compared to an objective response rate around 30 to 32% for the current standard of care alone. These data does exceed our expectation in this challenging indication, and the progress that we are making with OPTIMIZE-1 trial further underlines our belief in Mitazalimab's clinical and commercial potential. We've also been receiving a significant amount of interest both from the clinical community but definitely also from the pharma community for Mitazalimab. Another important milestone for OPTIMIZE-1 was that we earlier this quarter were able to report the completion of the enrollment of the trial. As you may remember, we have already advanced our own expectations and shortened the recruitment time of the trial by approximately 9 months. Having now the trial fully recruited allows us to validate and reconfirm that we are on track to deliver top-line data from the trial now in the beginning of Q1 2024. Staying on Mitazalimab, we have used a lot of the experience that we have learned from OPTIMIZE-1 to de-risk and enhance the design of OPTIMIZE-2, a second phase 2 trial with Mitazalimab, this time in urothelial carcinoma, the most common type of bladder cancer. We're pleased to have now received IND approval from the FDA, and we are moving ahead with the initial parts of the trial preparation, which we expect to begin in the first half of 2024 or potentially earlier, subject to operational feasibility. This quarter also saw Alligator expanding our research, collaboration, and license agreement with Orion Corporation to include the discovery and development of another bispecific antibody. This agreement not only makes Alligator eligible for development, regulatory, and sales milestones and royalties for more than 300 million euros, but it definitely also highlights the power and the uniqueness of our scientific platforms. One point I would like to make about these early stage collaborations is that they provide significant optionality to Alligator shareholders at no or very limited cost and strongly validate our scientific approaches. And although these collaborations are progressing in the background, they are progressing at quite a fast pace, with already a number of these being in the clinical development since 2017. Notably, our partner Aptevo Therapeutics and us and Alligator, we dosed the first patient in our joint phase 1 clinical trial of the molecule called ALG.APV-527, or just 527 for short, and we're expecting to see the first interim readout from that trial, hopefully already in the second half of this year. Still staying on the news, I'd like to highlight the appointment of Laura von Schantz as our new Chief Technology Officer. Laura has a deep and long-lasting knowledge of Alligator and our technologies, as she's been with us since 2014. And Laura is the natural choice to oversee every technical aspects of our both preclinical and clinical pipeline, and a warm welcome to Laura in the executive management of Alligator. Lastly, we have also maintained a strong presence at key scientific conferences this quarter, including presentations at several meetings. Lastly, the American Association for Cancer Research annual meeting, where we displayed the latest data on 4066, our CD40 CA bispecific antibody. And we are pleased to see that we've been receiving significant amount of interest in our R&D technology and pipeline at exactly these meetings. Next slide, please. As you can see here is an overview of internal programs and our collaborations and licensing agreements. I think this gives a very good sense of the robust immuno-oncology pipeline which we are building with substantial clinical and commercial potential. Our antibodies address key immune activation pathways and are designed with key features making them complementary to existing cancer therapies. We believe that this gives our antibodies a unique position as part of tomorrow's combination therapies, helping patients with hard-to-treat cancers, such as pancreatic cancer. We also place great importance on the value of our partnerships, which provides Alligator with external validation of our technologies, along with the opportunity to generate income, manage risk, and maximize shareholder value in the mid and long term. I've already mentioned Aptevo and Orion, but I'd also like to draw your attention on our long-standing relationship with MacroGenics, Abclone, and Henlius. Next slide, please. Now let's spend some time on the interim efficacy data from OPTIMIZE-1 and look ahead to the more mature efficacy data that we plan to generate in the middle of this year. Looking at the overall objective response rate chart, as you see here to your left, you can see in orange the 52% response rate that we achieved with Mitazalimab in combination with FOLFIRINOX. To give that number some context, you'll see that the current standard of care, which is standalone FOLFIRINOX, demonstrate an objective response rate around 32% in a similar patient population. This number has been validated in a number of clinical trial settings over the last 5 to 10 years. So that comparison shows that Mitazalimab combined with chemotherapy could offer significant clinical benefit for pancreatic cancer patients over standard of care, and it really highlights, I believe, in this CD40 agonist in that it could change the treatment paradigm for these patients. The next milestone in this study is the first interim progression-free survival data that we expect to announce mid this year. And then beyond that, we, as I said earlier, will provide top-line data in the beginning of the first quarter 2024. Now, on the next slide, we recap the milestones of Mitazalimab development as we've seen them since the treatment of the first patient in September 2021. And as you can see, we have met every milestone timely since that point in time, and we are now well on the way towards providing top-line data in the early parts of Q1 2024, which is then 9 months earlier than planned due to the faster than expected patient recruitment that we discussed at a previous point. We see this as a creation of significant value to our pancreatic cancer program, and this indication represents a very large potential market. We have initiated investments to continue we've continued our investment in phase 3 and commercial manufacturing processes, as well as other phase 3 enabling activities with Mitazalimab. We continue to anticipate discussions with the regulators on Mitazalimab's development and the route to market, both in the US and in Europe, in the second part of this year. The upcoming interim progression-free survival data will be used as a key component of these discussions, and we look very much forward to report the outcome to you in the second half of this year. Slide 7, please. Now, before I hand over to Marie, I would like to touch up on our financing plans to ensure Mitazalimab's development for the mid and the long-term value generation. As you probably know, the financial markets remain extremely challenging for biotech companies like Alligator, even with limited recognition of quality data. But nevertheless, we need to secure the delivery of OPTIMIZE-1 top-line data, as we just discussed, with minimal dilution to our current shareholders. Therefore, we have considered various financing options to serve the best interest of our shareholders. For that reason, we have decided not to enter into or take on any debt or convertible debt that pushes away equity investors, and not to go for multiple small equity raises along the way, which will lead to constant and continuous pressure on the share price, but instead of rather ensure an equity financing to ensure that we have sufficient financial resources to deliver our next catalyst and to allow all Alligator shareholders to continue to support our mission. So thank you to the support of our shareholders. Our preferential rights issue was approved by the shareholders during yesterday's extraordinary general meeting, and I would like to walk you through the main details of it. So next slide, please. So Alligator is in the envious position to have a robust shareholder base who deeply believe in what we are trying to do, are trying to achieve, and who believe in the tremendous potential of Mitazalimab in pancreatic cancer and beyond, as well as our overall technology platform and pipeline. And thanks to this support, we've been able to secure over 91% of the 199 million Swedish kronor raise that we are kicking off. As mentioned earlier, we want to give existing shareholders the opportunity to contribute and to continue to build on our mission. And for that reason, any existing shareholder will be able to acquire 2 subscription rights for each share they own as of April 26th. Each of these subscription rights provides 1 newly issued common share and also 1 warrant. And each collection of 8 warrants will allow the shareholders to convert these warrants into 1 additional new share at a value of 70% of the 10 days weighted average price before August 15 this year, and no less than Swedish krona 40 öre, whatever is the lowest. The subscription period starts on Friday, April 28, and lasts until May 12 at midnight CET, and we look forward to announce the completion of this financing on May 17th, also this year. Now let's turn to Marie to receive and review our financial results for the quarter. Marie.
Thank you. I think we need to go to the next slide. Net sales for the first quarter 2023 amounted to 9.6 million SEK, up from 5.4 in the prior year period. This is a result of the research and license agreement with Orion, where we're now running 2 programs. Operating expense for the quarter resulted in negative 62.2 million, an increase from minus 43 million SEK in prior year period, mainly due to the cost for the ongoing clinical trials for Mitazalimab 527 and as phase 3 enabling activities for Mitazalimab, as Søren mentioned before. Personnel costs for the period amounted to 18.3 million. An important point I would like to bring to your attention is the focus of financial resources behind our R&D efforts. While Alligator dedicated around 70% of its operational expense to R&D in 2020 and 2021, the level was significantly increased in 2022, reaching 81.3%. And our efforts have continued, leading us to dedicate 83% in Q1. Cash flow for the quarter amounted to negative 52.2 million SEK, compared to 43.8 million SEK in the prior year period. Next slide, please. If we look at Alligator's operating cost on a rolling 12-month basis, we note an increase due to the expansion of our clinical trial activities and the increasing number of patients being enrolled in the trials. At the end of March 2023, Alligator's cash at hand amounted to 44.8 million SEK. In order to support the continued development of our key assets, the company is continuously working on opportunities for partnership, out-licensing deals, and equity financing. In March, the company announced that, as Søren mentioned before, that they intend to carry out a 91% guaranteed rights issue that the shareholder meeting approved of yesterday, and that will bring in 199 million SEK before transactions cost. With this right issue, the company's financial resources are sufficient for the upcoming 12 months. With that, I will turn back to you, Søren.
Thank you, Marie. If I could have the next and final slide. Now, looking ahead to those next 12 months, we are expecting a very rich news flow with a number of clinical and operational updates on the cards that we expect will continue to validate our technologies and deliver value to our shareholders. I already mentioned the OPTIMIZE-1 milestones, OPTIMIZE-2, and also 527 milestones. But we are also now beginning to make arrangements to prepare Mitazalimab for its phase 3 clinical development in pancreatic cancer, which is an exciting next step for Alligator. The upcoming interim progression-free survival data in first-line pancreatic cancer that we expect to report mid-year will be extremely useful, combined with the objective response rate of 52% that we've already announced to drive discussions with the regulators on the path forward. We remain deeply committed to deliver on our ambition to develop meaningful therapies for patients with hard-to-treat cancers through a continued focus on our key clinical program. On behalf of myself, the board of directors, Alligator's management, and our employees, I would like to take this opportunity to extend our sincere thanks to you as shareholders, and also to my team, the Alligator staff, for their very strong achievement and very strong effort during Q1 of 2023. So I also want to thank you directly, valued shareholders, for your ongoing confidence in our company. I look forward to keeping you updated on our development on this exciting journey. And with that, we will open the call for any questions. Okay, it doesn't seem that there are any questions as we are in a silent period. So with that, thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
And thank you out there.